questions with working with the investor.
Okay.
What are some questions that you should ask them?
Yeah. Well, first off, it depends on whether the investor is a seasoned investor or a brand new investor.
Okay.
So the line of question will be different based on that information. For example, I'm emailing a guy today that was interested to say he's interested in investing, and he told me that he already bought a couple of turnkey properties, but the properties aren't. It's not enough margin. The return on investment, the ROI, is not high enough for him. And so what I expressed to him was that when you're dealing with a turnkey investment company, you tend to have tighter margins because when they get involved in a transaction, they buying the property, they fixing it up, and they putting a profit on top of all of the other stuff. And so if you're able to work around the turnkey investment properties where you're able to get a property that may need some light work, light renovation, and then they're able to get the property, get the property cheaper or as cheap as the investment company did, then get somebody to fix the property up, and then all the upside value is already there. So they saving a minimum of $15,000, $20,000, in some cases more than that. So it just kind of varies. But if you're working with a brand new investor that don't know how to get started, you may not have a real good idea how to get started. So what you want to do is try to talk to them or look, help them analyze it like they would if they was talking to a financial advisor, because this is a financial aspect of a person's portfolio. So the first question I ask is why? Why do you want to invest in real estate? And they'll tell you a plethora of different reasons. I want to have something for retirement. I want to use the money to offset some other stuff, or just I'm not really keen on the stock market. Specifically right now, it's because it's up and down, and this week really down versus up, and real estate isn't changing. So the rent, whether Corona happens or SARS or whatever the case may be, the rent is going to stay stable for any given area. And that's just the way that it is. It doesn't matter about the economy per se. You may have more vacancies if the economy were to tank, but in terms of people still got to have somewhere to live.
So this is a question that I get from a lot of investors. How do you determine which areas to pick, which locations?
Yeah, so me and the guy emailed too. So the guy telling me, so this guy here, for example, he said he want B plus neighborhoods. He he said want B neighborhoods, but he only want to spend between 70 to 100 grand. So my question to him, given my knowledge about investing in different areas, my question to him was what area did you buy? What area did you spend $70,000? What B area did you spend $70,000 to get a B property?
So let's say, for instance, for new investors, because new investors really don't know.
Yeah, I would say for a new investor, you want them to, even though for a new investor, I'd rather for them to be more conservative. So I would rather them to get into an area that has has a high degree of neighborhood integrity. For example, you can go to MAR and you can pull up any area in the city, and see how many rental properties versus owner occupants. So I would kind of start with that. And then of course, you got an idea, even though you're not from here, you still got an idea of some of the more solid areas like Cordova, Midtown, Southeast Memphis, 38141, 38125. And this is based on data, rental history data, where you're able to purchase a property and be able to have a high volume of rent coming in from that property, as opposed to some other areas that may be a little bit more unstable as it relates to that. So for a new investor, I always err on the side of caution. There's like a couple I'm working with now out of Texas, and we're looking at properties right now for them online because they're in Texas, so we're not actually going out. So we're assessing some properties, but I'm telling them it's some properties that's available that I think that we've looked at that has a high upside potential. But one property in particular is in a great area, but it's gonna need so much work, and it's their first time. So I'm like, listen, I don't want you going down the road of having to deal with the uncertainty and the headache of, even though we got a team to oversee the renovations and all of that stuff, it's just too much for one person to take on fresh out of the gate. If he was already a seasoned investor, it would be no problem. Like, listen, get this property, we gonna be able to make it work, no problem, you're gonna be good to go. This is the way I'm working out with a group of clients out of California. We brought a property, we renovated it, and they comfortable with that because he owned 5 already. And so with the new investor, what you want to do is minimize the amount of renovation, put them in as stable neighborhood as possible, even though the return on the investment may be smaller, the upside equity is going to be better long term. Of course, people don't buy in Memphis for equity per se or appreciation, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But in Memphis, you do get appreciation. You know, everywhere we got our own houses that I got appreciation, including my primary residence. So appreciation does exist, but buying in Memphis an investment property is not nowhere compares to Miami, New York, LA in terms of appreciation. So for a new investor, what I would say is two things. Number one, stability of the neighborhood. Number two, being able to get the right neighborhood, but also to getting the property in the best possible condition going into it, because even though they maybe pay a little bit more for it, the first time out, the first experience should be the best, one of the best experiences. Because if they have a terrible experience the first time out, it's unlikely they're going to do it again. And it's most definitely unlikely they're going to come back to you or even refer you again, because basically, even though you had nothing to do with it directly, it's just the association with the bad experience calls for, you know, a negative response, so to speak.
So do you have a rule of thumb on how much they, you know?
Yeah, I would say depending on the budget, right? Sometimes may say, like this guy here, he said he wanted to do 70 to 100, but then he put in quotations.
Do you have your own rule of thumb?
Yo, I'm getting to that, please, please. So, and I'm saying this going to give you an example, but I'm also going to elaborate.
Okay,
So he said between 70 to 100, but he put in quotations the 100,000. The house need to be basically updated. So in my mind, I'm like, you're talking about $100,000 an updated house in a B-type neighborhood, like that don't really exist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I told him, even like that doesn't exist. So my rule of thumb is, ideally, for the first time out, you want to be, if possible, anywhere between 100 to at least about 150,000 in your first investment property. That's going to put you pretty much in some of the better areas. And depending on, it don't matter what you purchase with cash. You're not going to be using FHA financing, so it's going to either be conventional or it's going to be cash or a private lender or something to that degree. So that price is going to put a person in a solid neighborhood, you know, at that price point. Now, of course, I don't speak in absolute, so you're able to get that price, you're able to get a good property every now and then, and, you know, cheaper than that, for sure. I've done it consistently, you know, over the course of my career, but ideally you want to be in that price point. So if something comes up that's cheaper, of course, our objective is to help them get there, but from a realistic perspective, you want to understand, you want them to understand, like, listen, this is kind of where we're going to be at, but we'll take a look at the 70 to 100 as well, but ideally you want to look at between 100 and 150 that's going to put you where you need to be. Now, at that price point, you may buy something for 120,000. 120,000 is already move-in ready, and you may only get $1,300 a month in rent. So when you take away vacancy and maintenance, you know, percentages, you take away management fees, and you take away insurance, that you operate under 10%, anywhere between the 7.5% to 8%. But in that neighborhood, if you buy for 120, the way the market is moving, by the end of the year, the property will be worth about 140, 135 at the least. And you're still able to increase the rent gradually, incrementally over the years. Mm-hmm. So those things happen all the time. And you got an actual tangible product, like with the stock market, right? Mm-hmm. Which lost, you know, a lot of points up and down this week. That is really nothing tangible. It's just kind of like all, you know, out there, but it's nothing that you can actually physically touch. But with the investment property, you get a multiple different avenues of benefit. Of course, you get tax write-off potentially, you get ups, you get cash flow, and you get appreciation. You know, and you got something to leverage against in case something goes wrong. You know, you work a job that where the coronavirus may stop you from going into the office. Then you can go take a loan out on your leverage your property, but you can't leverage your stock. It's like, hey, my stock down, I can't even do nothing with it. So I think from that perspective, the rule of thumb that I would say is that stable neighborhoods for sure, between 100, I'm saying between 90 to 150,000, gonna get you in a pretty solid neighborhood. And also too, because of course those neighborhoods you're gonna be able to see kind of what the rent ranges are and kind of say, okay, is it worthwhile? But also too, with the challenge is going to come in is that when they start doing research, they're going to start looking at videos and gathering information from other people. They're saying, well, listen, you know, I got a house for $50,000, I got a house for $30,000, and I'm getting $700 a month in rent. And that's true. I've seen that happen. I've helped clients make that happen. But by and large, those type of investments are more riskier because the neighborhood integrity tend to be more on the rental side, and so the neighborhood turnover happens at a far greater rate than it does in a more stable area, strictly based on the numbers, nothing to do with crime, nothing to do with, you know, social economics. It's just the data. The data says that, you know, it's certain areas where there's a lot more influx of renters than it is owner occupants, and those are just the facts.
So it's better to buy a rental property where it's owner occupied?
Yeah.
Majority?
Ideally too, yeah. And so you at least want to have a balance. Of course, the way Memphis is set up is a street by street basis. So you can't even place it, just say a zip code or a neighborhood. So a neighborhood may have different variety of different setups. So on one street it may be, you know, 90% owner occupied. The next street over it may be 85% renters. The next street over it may be commercial. You know what I mean? So that's the way that the street goes. And so I think you look at it on the macro level, and then you want to drill down and look at it on a micro level. So that way you're able to say, okay, listen, this is the way the properties are kind of set up. So from there, this is the way the neighborhood is set up. And because of that, you want to be able to guide them and say, listen, here's what we're looking at for this particular neighborhood. And you won't have to necessarily constantly keep reiterating that point. By the time that you show them a few, you'll be able to assess it for them and then say, listen, here's the data on that particular property, and kind of moving forward. The most important, I think another key element for you as an agent or as an advisor for person that wanted to invest is that a process. You got to put them into a system of how business is going to be conducted. Because if you don't do it that way out of the gate, it's going to be extremely problematic and a tedious process for you to even get paid one time. Of course, they don't really know, even with the seasoned investors, if they're investing in different areas, if they're investing with a different agent, everybody's process is different. You can go to 2-3 doctors' offices, and every doctor's office is kind of set up different. Of course, you sign in and present the insurance and all that kind of stuff too, but in terms of the amount of time the doctor see you, if you're going to see the doctor at all, and all those things go into place. So you want to put a system in place. But I think when you just consulting with somebody that's looking to invest in real estate, I think that the key thing about it is that, you know, what drives them to want to invest. And then you say, listen, it's different types of investment properties out there. You know, you can go the least expensive route if you don't, you know, have a lot of money. And if you go down that route, then you got to be extremely bullish on having a high degree of risk. And if you're cool with that, we can go down that road because it's more riskier.
So what would you advise someone that has a lot of money? Would you advise them?
I was diversified.
100,000. Would you advise them to put like 20% down, just in case?
I think putting 20% down, not going all in and expending. You know, you most definitely want to spend all your liquidity on the acquisition if that's all you got. You want to leverage the financing arm of it because eventually something's going to go wrong with the property, whether it be some plumbing. You know, there's going to be some maintenance issues that you got to factor into play, and you want to be able to deal with that. And life events happen. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Something comes up, you invest the property, even though the property cash flowing and moving smoothly, something goes on in your personal life and you can't leverage, you don't have that savings because you put it all on here and you're just hoping that you're able to get some of that money back before something in life happens. So what I would say do is that you always need about, 20% in reserves or whatever the purchase price is for, whatever the all-in cost is that you actually end up purchasing the property, have that put to the side specifically just for the property, in addition to having another account for your personal family issues that may potentially arise in just the savings. And of course, statistics show that, most Americans just don't have that dynamic set up. And if that's the case, then, investing at this particular junction may not be right for them. I'm talking to a younger guy in California, and he's thinking about investing. He's pulled together some money. It's a nominal amount. And I'm telling him, like, listen, if I were you, you brand new, if I was you, I would not deal with a private lender because they're going to want their money or they're going to take the property. And you're not seasoned enough to be able to navigate that terrain, and I just don't think I may be a good fit for you because you don't have the financial wherewithal that I'm comfortable with. So I don't want to put you at odds. Of course, I can easily help you buy a property, but I would rather for you to wait to buy the property and win than to buy something now and then,